Hello, dear children. Welcome back. I'm Dr. Jishajo. In this session, we shall study about the circulation of blood in the heart. Before moving on to the circulation of blood in the heart, we shall have a look at the blood vessels that supply oxygenated blood to the muscles of the heart. We know heart is an organ. The heart is made up of muscle cells, and each of these cells need energy for working. Okay, so like any other cell of our body, the heart muscles also require food and oxygen to produce energy, and these cells produce when as a result of respiration taking place. We know the cells undergo respiration, releasing energy, and this energy is needed for the working of heart muscles. So as a result of this process, we know the muscle cells, like any other cells of our body, also produce the waste products, carbon dioxide, and the waste products are produced in the muscle cells. So we will have a look at the blood vessel that supply oxygenated blood to the heart muscles. So it is the coronary artery that supplies blood, oxygenated blood to the muscles of the heart. It is the coronary artery that supplies oxygenated blood to the heart muscles, and the coronary artery arises at the base of the aorta. Okay. We know where the aorta arises. Aorta arises from the left ventricle, and the region where the aorta originates, from the base of the aorta, we can see the coronary artery arising. And it is this coronary artery that supplies oxygenated blood to the muscles of the heart. And the muscle cells release carbon dioxide. They produce carbon dioxide and waste materials, and these carbon dioxide have to be removed out from the muscle cells, and this is done by means of the cardiac veins. The cardiac veins collect the deoxygenated blood from the muscles of the heart and drain it into the right atrium. We know it is into the right atrium the deoxygenated blood is drained. So from the muscle cells also the deoxygenated blood is taken, and the cardiac vein opens into the right atrium, draining the deoxygenated blood taken away from the muscles of the heart. Okay, so which is the blood vessel that supply oxygenated blood to the heart muscles? It is the coronary artery, and it is the cardiac vein that carries the deoxygenated blood from the heart muscles. And the coronary artery arises at the base of aorta, and the cardiac vein drains the deoxygenated blood into the right atrium. So I hope that is clear. Now, so this coronary artery produces branches. Throughout the wall of the heart, the coronary artery produces branches to supply the muscle cells of the heart. So if in any case any of these branches of the coronary artery gets blocked, then that particular region of the heart muscles will not get sufficient supply of oxygen, or will cause the deadening of, because it is not getting enough oxygen and enough nutrients, that particular region of the heart gets or becomes dead, or deadening of the heart muscles take place at that particular region where the coronary artery gets blocked. And this leads to a condition called the heart attack, or it is called as the myocardial infarction. Okay, myocardial infarction. Okay, myocardial infarction, how is it caused? It is caused due to the deadening of certain regions or parts, certain portions or regions of the heart. How does it get dead? How is the deadening of the heart muscles taking place? Due to the blockage in the coronary artery. So this leads to a condition called myocardial infarction, or in common language we say it as the heart attack. Now there's another condition condition we all have experienced, like during the PT or the sports day, after severe exercise or after running, we can feel a pain in our chest for a short period. This pain in the chest is not any heart attack or anything. It is due to the insufficient supply of oxygen to the heart muscles. Okay, we are not getting insufficient because enough supply of blood is not provided to the heart. So there is an insufficient supply of oxygen to the heart muscles, or insufficient supply of blood to the heart muscles, and this causes that chest pain. And it is not any heart attack that is taking place, and this condition is called the angina pectoris. Angina pectoris, it is a condition, angina pectoris. Okay, it is a condition. What is a condition? It is a condition in which we feel a pain in our chest due to the insufficient supply of blood to the heart muscles. So I hope the difference between myocardial infarction and angina pectoris is clear. So angina pectoris is a condition which results, or it is caused due to the insufficient supply of blood to the heart muscles. Chest pain occurs, and this condition is called as the angina pectoris. It occurs during severe exercise, after running and all. We feel the small chest pain which occurs due to insufficient supply of blood to the heart muscles, and that condition is called angina pectoris. Whereas myocardial infarction is caused due to the blockage in the branches of the coronary artery. As a result, that particular region of the heart, the muscles of the heart at that particular region becomes dead. This leads to a condition called myocardial infarction. Now we shall move on to the circulation of blood in the heart. We know the auricles, the right and the left auricles get filled with blood. How the right auricles receives blood from the vena cava, both the superior and inferior vena cava drain the deoxygenated blood into the right auricle, and the left auricle receives oxygenated blood through the pulmonary vein. So now the auricles are filled with blood. Okay, now the first step is the contraction of the auricle. As the auricles contract, what happens? The ventricles relax. Okay, so the process is taking simultaneously. As the auricles contract, the ventricles get relaxed. Okay, and as a result, what happens? Due to the contraction of the auricles, the blood from the auricles pass through the Caspid valves into the dilated ventricles or the expanded ventricles. So that is the first step. As the auricles contract, simultaneously what happens in the ventricles? The ventricles relax. So when the auricles contract, the blood from the auricle is passed through the Caspid valves into the ventricles. Okay, now next stage is the contraction of the ventricle. So now this is in this stage, that is, auricles are contracting and the ventricles are in a relaxed state. Okay, now the ventricles have received the blood from the auricles. Now the next step is the contraction of the ventricle and the relaxation of the auricle. Okay, so what happens when the ventricles contract? What happens? There is a chance for the blood from the ventricles to flow back into the auricles, isn't it? So this is prevented. I told you in the previous class. How is it prevented? When auricles contract, the Caspid valves are in this position. When the ventricles contract, what happens? They assume this position, closing the opening there. The valve is closed. Okay, so as the ventricles contract, the auricles relax. Okay, that is what is happening. It occurs simultaneously. As ventricles contract, auricles relax. So, as a result of this contraction, there is a chance for the blood from the ventricles to flow back into the auricles. This is prevented by the closure of the Caspid valves. The Caspid valves, it was like this. During ventricular contraction, it will close. The opening is closed, preventing the backward flow of blood from the ventricles into the auricles. Now, the only way for the blood to flow from the right ventricle is through the pulmonary artery, because this is closed. This will remain closed. So, only way for the blood to flow from the right ventricle is through the pulmonary artery, and from the left ventricle, the only way is for the blood is to flow through the aorta. So I hope that is clear. Okay, now the next stage. So now in this stage, the auricles are relaxed, ventricles are contracting. We have seen the Caspid valves remain closed in this stage. The only way for the blood to flow from the ventricles is into the pulmonary artery from the right ventricle and into the aorta from the left ventricle. Okay, now next stage, what is the next stage? Again, auricles contract, ventricles relax. Okay, simultaneously it is taking place as the auricles contract, ventricles relax. So when the ventricles relax, what happens when auricles contract? Naturally, the blood from the auricles flow into the ventricles. But when the ventricles relax, there is also another thing that might happen. Okay, when the ventricles relax, there is a chance for the blood that has entered into the pulmonary artery and the aorta to flow back into the ventricles. How is this prevented? I told you yesterday, the openings are guarded by the semilunar valves. So the opening of these pocket-shaped valves are directed outwards. So as the blood tries to flow back, what will happen? The pockets get filled with blood. So they are directed outwards. So initially when the ventricles contract, they are in this condition. Okay, there is one more valve here, just think like that. There is a space in between for the blood to flow. Okay, now when ventricles relax, what happens? The blood from the pulmonary artery and the aorta tends to flow back. So when they flow back, what will happen? The openings of the pocket are directed upwards, and as a result, the pockets will get filled with blood. So they get filled with blood and the opening is closed. See, you can see the opening is closed, preventing the backward flow of blood from the pulmonary artery into the right ventricle and from the aorta into the left ventricle. Okay, so that is how circulation of blood is taking place in the heart. So once again, so the vena cava and the pulmonary vein drains the blood into the auricles. Okay, so it is filled with blood. That is when the auricles are in a relaxed state. This is happening. Now, when the auricles contract, ventricles relax. So, what happens? The blood from the auricles pass into the ventricles through the Caspid valves. The next stage is the contraction of the ventricle and the relaxation of the auricle. So when the ventricles contract, there is a chance for the backward flow of blood from the ventricles into the auricles, but this is prevented by the closure of the Caspid valves. Isn't it? Now the only way for the blood to flow is through the pulmonary artery from the right ventricle and into the aorta from the left ventricle. So the blood flows. Now the next stage is the relaxation of the ventricle and the contraction of the auricle. So as the ventricles relax, what happens? There is a chance for the blood to flow back into the ventricles from the pulmonary artery and the aorta. This is prevented by the closure of the semilunar valves. So that is what is happening there. So we have seen a phase where auricular contraction, where the auricles contract, and this contraction phase is called as the systolic phase or the systole. The contraction phase is the systole or the systolic phase. Okay, systole. So when auricular systole takes place, there is a dilation or a relaxation of the ventricle, and this relaxation phase is called as the diastole. Diastole. So systole is the contraction phase and diastole is the relaxation phase. So when auricular systole takes place, what happens? Ventricular diastole takes place. When ventricular systole occurs, auricular diastole takes place. So that is happening like that. Okay, so there simultaneously, I told you auricular systole and ventricular diastole takes place, or ventricular systole and auricular diastole will take place. So this auricular systole, so there is a systolic phase and a diastolic phase. Now this once again I am just showing it. So when the auricles contract, I told you ventricles are in the diastolic phase. Okay, then when the ventricles contract, auricles expand or relax. So there is a stage, look into my hand, this is the contraction phase and this is the relaxation phase. This is the contraction phase of the ventricle, relaxation phase of the auricle. Okay, in between there is a phase. So just look here, this is the systolic phase of the auricle and the diastolic phase of the ventricle. So when the auricles are relaxing and the ventricles are trying to come back, there is a stage for a fraction of a second, that is for 0.40 second. You can see both the auricle and both the auricles and the ventricles in a relaxed state. Can you see this? So this stage is called as the joint diastole. So it is a stage when both the auricles as well as both the ventricles are in a relaxed state, and this state is called as the joint diastole. Okay, so there is the first stage is the auricular systole, then comes the ventricular systole, and then comes the joint diastole. So the entire sequence of events that occurs in here is called as the cardiac cycle. Okay, so there is an atrial systole. Atrial systole is there. The second phase is the ventricular systole. Ventricular systole. And there's a third phase which is called as the, for a fraction of a second, there is a stage which is called as the joint diastole. Okay, so the atrial systole occurs for 0.15 seconds. 0.15 seconds. The ventricular systole occurs for 0.30 seconds. And the joint diastole occurs for 0.40 seconds. This makes a total of 0.85 seconds. So that is a complete heartbeat. A complete heartbeat consists of an atrial systole, a ventricular systole, and a joint diastole. So each heartbeat, one complete heartbeat lasts for about 0.85 seconds, which includes atrial systole, which lasts for 0.15 seconds, ventricular systole, which lasts for 0.30 seconds, and joint diastole, which occurs for about 0.40 seconds, making it a total of 0.85 seconds. So that is the heartbeat. And this entire sequence of events that take place in the heart during a heartbeat is called as a cardiac cycle. Cardiac cycle. So I hope you have understood about the circulation of blood in the heart and about the cardiac cycle. Hope you have understood what is meant by atrial systole, ventricular systole, and joint diastole. So once again, the entire sequence of events taking place during a heartbeat, that is called as the cardiac cycle, and it has these three phases there: the atrial systole, ventricular systole, and the joint diastole. And each heartbeat lasts for 0.85 seconds. Okay, now as we have already seen, as the ventricles contract, which are the valves that are getting closed during ventricular contraction. Do you remember the valves that get closed during ventricular contraction? Yes, it is the cuspid valves. The tricuspid and the bicuspid valves get closed during ventricular systole. Why? To prevent the backward flow of blood from the ventricles into the auricles. Okay, this closure of the cuspid valves causes a sound, okay, which is called as the lub. Lub. So the lub sound is caused due to the closure of the cuspid valves. When does it take place? During ventricular systole. Isn't it? When the ventricles contract. So it is during, so remember, it is during ventricular, at the beginning of ventricular systole, the cuspid valves, both the tricuspid and the bicuspid valves close, preventing the backward flow of blood from the ventricles to the auricles. And this closure of the cuspid valves produce a sound which is called as the lub sound. That is the first sound. Okay, now the second sound occurs when the semilunar valves get closed. When does the semilunar valves get closed? When do the semilunar valves get closed? It is during ventricular diastole. During the relaxation of the ventricles, the semilunar valves get closed. So at the beginning of ventricular diastole, what happens? The blood, to prevent the backward flow of blood into the ventricles, the semilunar valves get closed. The closure of the semilunar valves produce another sound which is called as the dub sound. So that is the sound of the heart, which is lub dub, lub dub, lub dub. Lub sound is caused due to the closure of the cuspid valves. When does the cuspid valves close? At the beginning of ventricular systole. And when does the semilunar valves get closed? At the beginning of ventricular diastole. What is the sound heard by the closure of the semilunar valves? It is the dub sound. So these are the heart sounds, the lub sound and the dub sound. Okay, so I hope that is also clear to you. So we have seen that the heartbeat consists of the atrial systole, the ventricular systole and the joint diastole. Now the rate of heartbeat. Okay, the number of times the heart beat in 1 minute, that is the rate of heartbeat, varies from organisms, from one organism to another, or it varies from one species to another. If you look at the small organisms, like for example the sparrows, you can see very small organisms have a greater heart rate or a faster heart rate than larger organisms like the elephant, whale, etc. So we have a list in our textbooks showing the heartbeat rate of various organisms there, and there we can see that organisms which are smaller in size have a faster heart rate than the larger organisms. This is because smaller organisms have a high surface area volume ratio. Because of the small size of their body, they have a higher surface area volume ratio. And as a result, they tend to lose more body heat. Okay, so to provide the distribution of heat in the body, there is a faster heartbeat rate there in the case of smaller organisms. So that can be asked as a give reason for the exam. The smaller organisms, or the smaller the size of an organism, faster is the heart rate. That is because of the high surface area volume ratio. There is tendency for the greater loss of heat from the body, and the increased heartbeat distributes the body heat faster within the organism. And also another thing that you can observe there is the faster heart rate in the case of newborn infants. When you compare the heartbeat rate of infants with adults, you can see that the infants have a faster heartbeat rate than the adults. Here again we can see that the metabolism or the metabolic rate of infants is fast. That is, we know infants grow at a faster rate. If you see a small baby today, and after 1 week, if you are seeing the baby, you can see that the baby has changed much. A newborn baby, if you look at a newborn baby today, and if on the next day, if you see the newborn baby, if on the next day, after 1 day of its birth, you can see a change in a great change in the baby. So from this, we can say that the babies or the newborn infants have higher metabolism for body growth, and therefore it needs to have a sufficient supply of oxygen, nutrients, etc., and the carbon dioxide or waste materials that are released from the cells of the newborn have to be removed out. Okay, so to provide an efficient supply of oxygen and nutrients to the cells of the newborn, the heartbeat increases, or the newborn infants have a faster heartbeat rate. The reason is that they have higher metabolism for growth. And so to provide the necessary supply of nutrients and oxygen and to remove the waste materials from the body, newborns have a faster heartbeat rate. So I hope that is also clear to you. I hope what we have studied in this session is clear to you. If you have any doubts or suggestions, please ask your doubts and give your suggestions in the comment section. Thank you.